Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to Edureka Front-End Web Development Module 2. In this module, we'll be covering part 2 of HTML. As I said yesterday, when I said HTML, most of the topics we'll be discussing today will be for version 4.01. But some of the topics, just to make the things complete, I may borrow a few things from HTML5 in advance, and I'll be briefly presenting them now. But later, when we cover in detail about HTML5, we'll review them once again. Yeah, before I start with the class today, yesterday some of you, I think about 4 of you have given the feedback, which the pop-up window in the browser which you get, there you filled in the feedback. That feedback, I got it yesterday by evening time. Thanks to all of you who have given me the feedback. I really appreciate. Definitely, your feedback will help me to improve the course in the next session and the course content. If you give the feedback, then I know how you are able to receive it. It's fast, too good, not good. Yesterday, some of you felt that the course was too much theory, and there's a it should have been ended on time. And some of you said you wanted more what you call programming in HTML. I have taken it. I'll work on actively and then try to improve it. But still, if you wanted even more, please give the feedback without fail. So I request those of you who have not given the feedback yesterday, 5 of you, I request you to fill in the feedback today, so that it is beneficial for me, so that I can improve the course. It's beneficial for you because since you paid for this course, and I want to make sure that you get the maximum benefit out of this course. Unless you give the feedback, I will not know how you're receiving it. So once again, please fill in the feedback so that I can improve the course. And I am, as I said, I am committed to make this course as fruitful as possible for you. And you should be happy that yes, you have done this course. And I want you to achieve your objectives for registering this course. Okay. Yeah. So let me just make it full screen. Yeah, it's taking some time. Yes. So yeah, today is, as I said, it's module 2. We'll cover part 2 of HTML. Yeah, at the end of this module, you will be able to write HTML pages which contains lists. Lists includes ordered lists and unordered lists, and also anchors. As you know, anchors is a technical term, whereas hyperlinks or links are, I would say, general term, non-technical term. Hyperlink is also a technical term, but yeah, but anchors is more the term used in HTML. And you learn how to use the images and the tables, which is also important. As you see, most of the websites will contain the anchors, paragraphs, and images mostly. And sometimes they will contain the tables as well and lists. And whenever you are doing registering on a new website, all of you might have filled in some forms, because you have to give in, you have to select your username, password, and you have to provide other details, be it LinkedIn, Google, Gmail, or any site. So there, those the company, the internet company on the other side of the web is getting your information using HTML forms. And we today in this session will learn how to create HTML forms as well. And finally, we'll close this session, today's session, with how to style these HTML elements. And since rather than styling at the end, as and when we are discussing about these HTML elements, I'll be immediately covering the styling of those elements as well. Yeah. So let's start with the first submodule of module 2, that is module 2.1. So in this module, we'll see how to use the images. How we can display the images or render the images using img tag. Img stands for image. And similarly, there's another tag called object. Object is a more generic tag compared to image. Image is meant for only images, whereas object, you can embed any image. It could be SVG. SVG stands for scalable vector graphics, or it could be image, or it could be even some of you might have seen some websites with shockwave files. Shockwave is from Adobe, where you will get the animated video. So those are called shockwave files. Those shockwave files, you might have seen the file with .swf. So those shockwave files also can be embedded inside a HTML page using this object. And there's many other things which you can read about it. Next, we'll just briefly look at what are the image formats and what are the formats which are recommended to use inside a web page. And we'll see how images behave, how to style it, and how to use them as background, and how to use them in small images as a bulleted list. You might have seen the bullets, as you can see in this slide, the bullets on the left hand side, which is an arrow symbol. So instead of this such arrow symbol, let's say you want to use your own customized image, so you can style it that as well. Yeah, let's start with like how we can display these images. As I said, any image which you would like to display has to be embedded or enclosed within img tag. Note that img tag, if you can recall the structure of the any HTML tag, you have start tag and the content in between and then end tag. Well, img is a special tag which does not have any element content. It means between start tag and end tag, there's nothing, it's empty. For that matter, it doesn't even have end tag itself. So what it has only start tag. So end tag, as you can see, this is whatever indicated in red color. So that tag doesn't exist. Even if you specify at the end, so just the browser ignores it. And so you might be wondering, how do you specify the image that needs to be displayed? So the way you specify is an attribute. If you remember, each of the tag have got some attributes. So there is an attribute called SRC. SRC stands for source. In the source attribute or SRC attribute, you need to specify the name of the image. When you specify the name of the image, so again, whenever you specify a source, especially the uniform resource locator URL, so there are three different ways. I think that we'll cover later. So in any of those three formats, absolute, document relative, or path relative, or server relative, any one of these, you can use it in place of the value whichever is specified in double quotes. As I mentioned yesterday, it's highly recommended that you have to use these values in double quotes. You can use single quotes as well, but double quotes is recommended. The reason because, let's say within this double quotes, let's say if you want to use another string enclosed in a quotes, then you can use a single quotes then. That way it will not conflict with double quotes and double quotes, they will match, and single quotes will match. If you mix up, then there could be a problem. The next is, as I said, this image attribute image tag has also got attributes. These are the few attributes on image tag. As I said, source is for the image source, and if you don't specify width and height of the image, that is the dimensions of the image. So when it fetches the image, then it will calculate, it will determine what is the width and height of the image, and then with that image dimensions, it will display. Sometimes some users, some browsers might choose to display probably 50% if it is too big. And there's a alt tag and title tag. We'll look at this in detail later. Okay. Yeah. So as I said here, so here you can see on the right hand side thumbs up, which is in green color. So what it means is it is the recommended practice. When I said thumbs down with red color means that's not recommended. So that's the convention I use here in this slide. So even though a browser determines that the width and height, you should always specify. The reason because so you are reducing some work for a browser so that it can display it quite fast rather than see, in case of a big images, it has to go through the full complete size image and then determine what are the dimensions, and it might slow down your rendering of the web page. Note that the width and height dimensions you can specify in pixel. Pixel is a unit of measure, or you can mention in terms of percentage. That we'll see briefly later. And you can see here it has got this one. So yeah, you might be wondering if you specify 50% or 25% for width and height, so what happens? So when you specify that, what happens is the image will be scaled up or scaled down. That is, it'll zoom out. That is scale up. So zoom in. So sorry, zoom out is it's a scale down. So zoom in is a scale up. Yeah, so we'll see alt. Let's say sometimes what happens is let's say the browser is not able to fetch the image for some reason because you specified a wrong file, a wrong path, or the file name doesn't exist, and so on. Yeah, Elijah, you have a question. Once I complete these slides, I'll come back to your question. Okay. So let me just see, is it best practice? So the question is it a best practice to save your picture as size as you want to display it? Or for example, it makes no sense to make an image that is, but only showing the 200 because, yes. Yeah, answer your question, Elijah, yes, you are right. You should have the image scaled down or save your image in the same dimension in which you would like to display. So that way the load on the browser is reduced significantly because it has to display as is. Let's say, as you said, if you have got 1000 by 1000 and if you are displaying it as 100 by 100 image, then the browser has to do the calculation from scaling down from 1000 by 1000 to 100 by 100. So the scaling down is a very expensive process. Then displaying of your web page will be slower. Therefore, yes, to answer you, it's yes. If you are displaying 100 by 100, save the image as 100 by 100. So that will save browser's time. Okay. Yeah. So in case for some reason browser is not able to display the image, then so there should be some way it should be communicated to the end user. So that you specify using ALT tag. ALT stands for alternate. So in case what is the alternate thing to be displayed in case the image is not there, then that you have to display. You have to specify it as an alt attribute value. So if browser could not display, it will display this text. That way you know that that image is broken. And one thing, see, you might be wondering that the web pages are seen only by the people who have got eyesight. But you'll be wondering that even these web pages are being browsed by the blind people, visually challenged people, because since these web pages are marked up in HTML, so there are screen readers which will read past these HTML pages and read out whatever is there in the web page. And I was really wondered, blind people do understand what is there in the web page just by listening. So whenever you design a web page, you have to take into consideration that your web page will be browsed by even visually challenged people also. Therefore, So this is one of the accessibility consideration you have to take into keep in mind when you are designing the web pages, because visually challenged also will be looking at your page. So, but when you specify, like if you specify alt image, alt tag, so it'll say that here there's a company logo, so that visually challenged person can visualize that okay, there is a logo on the page. Okay, and yeah, and there's a title attribute which will display as a tooltip. So let us see this as with an example. So yeah, so this is my so let me just clean up. Yesterday I was doing something. Yeah, I'll just try to keep it as minimal as possible. Yeah. So yeah, so you can see here just please bear with me. Yeah, so I'm just editing. You can just what I'm doing. I'm just moving few things to the comment lines. So you can see here I have paragraph tag, the list of courses, and then I have let me delete this anchor as well. Just a minute. Yeah, you can see here I'm having an image tag here. Okay, so I specified even here the source attribute, so which is there in the ed directory related to this file, and in that I have edureka logo.png. Here I specified as in the width as 50%, and I have alt attribute which is edureka logo, and then title here which has got edureka tooltip. So let me just remove this width and then show it in the demo. Yeah, you can see this is the edureka logo. So let me go back and then change this. So I would like to specify, and yeah, here you can see when I move my cursor, you can see the tooltip. You see edureka tooltip. This whatever it's displaying as a tooltip, it comes from the title attribute here, this one. And let's demonstrate how it displays the alt. So note that yesterday I showed that the image is present in this. So this file which I am displaying rendering in the web page is there in this directory, that is this file. Okay, and with respect to this directory, I have a ed folder. Within the ed folder, I have this image. So that image is what is displayed in the browser. Let us say now I want to simulate a broken link. So I'll just delete, or just let's say, so just I'll add one. So note that edureka logo 1, the file does not exist. And let me refresh. You see here? So this is what? The broken image. And let's see, like this as well. I think these browsers, I mean, sometimes they behave differently. This is a browser bug. Actually speaking, here it should display, yesterday it was displaying. So since now it is broken, it should display edureka logo. So there is a bug in Chrome. Okay, so let me just I'll demonstrate a little later. Okay, and let's add, let me just fix that. See, now you got the image back. So now I would like to display this image. Width is equal to, I would say 25%. 25%. Right? Note that though you need to display what you call not display, you need to specify both width and height. But even if you specify how much percentage it should scale down, like on width you specify 25%, on height also will reduce by the same amount. So you see it's reduced, and you can make it even 10% as well. It will be even smaller. And so this is as good as specifying height as well. Height is equal to, you can specify 10%. So note that all these values you have to put in double quotes. Yeah, so this is a, you will not see any difference, because it's already scaled down along like width 10%, height also it's the same. So let me just take, like for example, the 100 by 100. You can specify even, let's say 500 pixels. You can specify as pixels as well, and you can specify let's say 300 pixels. And yeah, so note that previously the image was proper. Now you see that image is getting stretched. This is because I haven't retained the aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is the width ratio of width and height. So as long as you keep the aspect ratio same, then image, though it is scaled up or scaled down, the dimension or look and feel will remain same. But if you don't maintain the aspect ratio, this is when you see this image getting stretched along the width direction or along the height direction. So this is one of the mistakes most of the novice web programmers do, because they don't understand these image dimensions, and they just hard code like this, as is mentioned here. They hard code like this without taking the aspect ratio into consideration. That's when these images will get stretched in one direction and looks very awkward. So that shows the incompetency of the web programmer. So please keep in mind that you have to maintain the aspect ratio. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, let me just take a small break here and yeah, I would like to ask questions. Yeah, you have any questions here? Karthik has asked a question: will giving percentage maintain the aspect ratio? Yes. If you specify as you have seen either width or height in one of the dimensions, if you mention if you specify in percentage, or you can specify in both, aspect ratio is retained. But as far as possible, you should just for the efficiency reasons, you should scale down whatever the dimension you are displaying in the browser. In the same dimensions, you should store the image using MS Paint. You can do that very easily. Then save it in that dimension and display it. That way, browser doesn't have to do the extra job. If you specify the percentage, note that it has to either scale up or scale down, and it's additional work on the part of the browser, which will consume some CPU cycles. Elijah asked question: isn't it there an attribute for specifying an alternate smaller image that can show while waiting on the larger image to load? I think, yeah, this has come as a requirement to the W3 consortium. I think they've taken the input. I think in the future versions they might work and add those features, but currently there's not. What you said is right, Elijah. That's a good thing to have. But so what happens is, what is the point? Let's say you got a smaller image, and so you are on the background getting the bigger image. So when you get the bigger image, then you are replacing the smaller image with a bigger image. Then the page will, the content on the page will move up or down. so which doesn't give good user experience. That's the reason why when you get it, you should display what are the dimensions you want to display and get that page in the first attempt itself. And another thing is when you're getting the larger image later and then scaling it down and then displaying it, again you're consuming CPU resources, which is again waste. Did that answer your question, Elijah? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah. There is as I said, there's another way to embed the object, embed the image. So that is using the object tag. So whenever you are embedding image, it's highly recommended that you should use the image tag rather than the object tag. Object tag you should use only for if there are no other HTML tags are available, then you should use the object tag. Like for example, for SVG, if no other tag is available, you should use SVG. Otherwise, for SVG, you may have to use object tag. And for example, for SWF, shockwave files, you don't have any tag associated with it. So that in such a case, SW file you can embed using object. Let us demonstrate that. So I have object here. Let me check. Yeah. So note that in object you have to mention what is the type of the object. In this case, so this is the image which is SVG. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics, that we'll cover later. It's one of the it's vector image format. And so you have to specify what is the source where it can get that SVG file. Note that in case of an image, you have to specify the image using source attribute, whereas in case of object, you specify using the data attribute. And this is the name of the file where that SVG file, the image is there. Here also you specify the width and height. Note that in the SVG case, I hope you are familiar with what is the difference between scalable vector graphics and the bitmap image. Do you know what is the difference? Because that's important. So Amna has asked a question: what is the difference when we use pixels, percentage, or width 20? Yeah, see, if you specify the width and height dimensions in pixels, then the browser will try to display the image in the dimensions you specified. Let's say if you want, say your image is, let's say 100 by 100, but you specified the image dimensions 500 by 500. So that is when your image will get scaled up to by 5 times, and then it will display that. Let's say if your image is not a high resolution image, then you will see the pixelation. That's the problem. If you have a bigger image and if you scale it down using pixels, then it's scaled down and you will not be able to see the pixelation. So in case of percentage, again, from smaller, if you have a smaller image, if you scale up, like if you specify percentage more than 100, then you are scaling up. Then you will again see the pixelation. But if you are scaling down less than 100, then you will not see this pixelation. So there is no difference between specifying in pixels and specifying in percentages. Only thing is, it's just your convenience. In case of percentage, you don't have to remember what is the dimension of pixels. Dimension of the image. Just specify what percentage you want, and it's easy to do it. Whereas in case of pixelation, you have to do some math yourself. But it's always good that you do the math in one shot, and then tell the browser. And browser, the load on the browser will be reduced. Did that answer your question, Amna? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I was asking, do you know the difference between the bitmap image and vector image. So you need to, if more people says yes, they don't know, then I'll explain. Otherwise, I'll skip. You need to answer in the chat window, because chat window is the only way we can communicate. Yeah, at least 5 people responded that they don't know. Yeah, I'll just give them briefly. See, in case of bitmap images or pixel images, so if you just, I'll just give you with a demonstration. So you know, you're familiar with MS Paint, right? Microsoft Paint. Okay, wait, it's doing something. Yesterday it was fine. Okay. So basically, in case of bitmap images, each pixel. So you know the pixels, right? Okay, let me just cancel. Each pixel, for example, our display screen is made up of small pixels, colored pixels. Each pixel has got red, blue, and green. Those sub pixels as well. So whenever the image is stored, each pixel, as I said, composed of 3 colors, RGB. These are the primary colors. So for how much the red color, how much green color, how much blue color should be displayed on 1 pixel. So that is encoded and stored as a 3 bytes, or it could be like say 1 byte. So like that, whole image is stored as a pixel information for these 3 primary colors. So when you're storing image like this, then so yeah, let's say if you stored information, let's say for in 100 by 100 pixels. So 100 by 100 means it's a pixels. 100 pixels with the direct horizontal and higher 100 pixels the vertical directions. Let's say 100, there are only 100 pixels, and now you're making it 1000 by 1000 pixels. Then what it does is for each pixel, it'll repeat 10 times. In horizontal direction and vertical direction, it'll repeat the 10 times, because it has got only one pixel information about 1 pixel, and it has to 10 times it has to scale up. So because of that, it gets extended both directions. You see the pixelation. So that pixelation problem is there only when you scale up, but when you scale down, it will reduce. So the pixelation of the image is not visible. So, but whereas in case of vector images, basically the image is represented using the vector is nothing but what do you call the line segments and curve segments. Now, since basically the line segments and curve segments can be represented using the mathematical equations, when you display it, irrespective whether it's smaller or big. So since the equation will mathematical equation will appropriately satisfy that the properties of the image, then you will see the same look and feel, and you will not see any pixelation at all. So that is the advantage of the vector images. So I'll show you. I think it needs a little more explanation. I hope you understand the concept. Since the vector image is defined using mathematical equations, and every time the equations and points are calculated, and you get the high resolution image. So let me demonstrate that. So I have Android logo.svg. Yeah, I hope you understood now the difference between vector and pixel image. Is that clear? Okay, good. Yeah, so here I have the image. This is a vector image. So Android logo.svg. Let me open in a notepad. So this is how it looks. This is called SVG XML format. So your Android image is displayed like this. I'm sorry, specified like this. But the same thing, note that it's quite small and it's all textual information, you can read it. Okay, and this is what I specified here. So this is image type SVG and so on. Let me just render it. Okay, in the browser. Just a minute. Just remove this. Yeah. You can see the small Android image, and let me just increase the width. I would say I will not specify width. Let me see. So note that here I specified the width as 100 by 50. I'll remove the width. You see, such a big Android logo. So since you don't want such a big one, so you should just go back and then specify something like width is equal to, let's say 40%. Let's see how it gets displayed. You see here, that's the 40% of the image. And similarly, you can see previously I specified the width and height as 100 by 50 pixels, and now I'm specifying in terms of percentages. So this is the 20% of the image. Okay, is that clear? So yeah, Elijah asked question: are SVG mainly used for scaling simple graphics such as Android, and you would not use SVG say for a photo of a person or where there are a lot of colors? Yes, Elijah, you are right. You are perfectly right. Only for regular images are images which you can mathematically define using equations. Like it could be like circles, ellipses, rectangles, such type of if your image is made of regular images which can be mathematically defined using equations, only then you can it can be specified using SVG images. If it is a photograph, definitely I cannot define myself using SVG images. It has to be photograph only. Did that answer your question, Elijah? Yeah. Yeah, Karthik asked a question: how do we create SVG images? There are tools. Adobe has a tool. I think it's called, I forgot, I'm not able to recall. But there is a, see, Adobe is it's a commercial software and you have to pay a license. But there is a free software called Inkscape. Inkscape. It's a freeware. So you can just post a query in the discussion forum and I'll answer that. So others also can see what is the software for they can use for creating SVG files. So yes, Inkscape is one of the open source software. You can use it for creating the SVG files. And there is another thing called Droplus, which is a UK based company. It's also commercial software. It also creates SVG files. Some of these softwares, you can store the images as SVG or PNG or PostScript in multiple formats. Lorraine has asked a question: Dropbase. Is it a software, Lorraine? I haven't heard of it. I'll just make a note of it. Okay. Yeah. Let me check. I don't know whether it's a Dropbase is a software. Probably yes. If it supports Dropbase. Oh, no, it's not Dropbase. Sorry, it's Inkscape. Let me. How do I? 1 minute. Let me put in the chat window. It's not Dropbase. I was talking about Inkscape. Let me just type in right here. Images in, yeah. So I typed in the chat window. Hope you got it. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on to the. Yes. Yeah. Inkscape.org. Yeah. You can search for that word Inkscape. Download on Google. I think you should get it. Okay. Yeah. So whenever as far as possible, since you have to keep the resolution of the image, note that if you have noticed it, So the dimensions, sorry, since we specified this image, Android image or logo in as SVG, irrespective of whatever is the scale, it's a low scale or even high scale up or scale down, the aspect ratio remains same. That is the advantage of this SVG image. Another advantage is SVG image, if this file is not too big, rendering the SVG image efficient and it looks good compared to JPEG or pixelated images. Okay. Let me just move on to the next slide. Yeah. So let's briefly look at what are the different formats in which you can save the images. So generally, these are the 4 popular image formats. GIF stands for Graphics Interchange Format. It has got only 250 colors, and this format is primarily recommended for icons, logos, and buttons. But currently, there's some licensing fees associated with GIF images. It is owned by one company, one consortium, and that consortium owns the licensing on this GIF format. This is one of the efficient formats, but unfortunately, if you use that in your commercial purposes in any of your websites, then you might have to pay licensing fees. Without that, you will be infringing on their copyrights. Therefore, it's not recommended to use it. The other formats, which is equally efficient and equally good quality, is JPG format or JPEG format. JPG stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group. It's basically a consortium of people who defines the formats for these images. This is one of the popular formats which can support 16 million colors, and this is recommended for photographs. And there's another PNG format which is a portable network graphics, which also supports 16 million colors, and this also recommended format for the complex images including photographs. But only thing is, you might notice that generally sometimes PNG files might be bigger in size compared to JPEG for almost more or less for the same quality. And there's another format called BMP, which stands for bitmap. And basically, this is the format. It's created by image editors like Microsoft Paint. One good thing is about you can manipulate these bitmap files in these editors, and you can get the fine control on at the pixels level. But the flip side is that it's very big in size. So definitely, since most of our web content will be more going on the web, on the network, it will consume the bandwidth. Therefore, it's not recommended to use bitmap files. And as I said, when you're handling with the images, you should always maintain height and width ratio. So an easy way to do it in HTML is you specify either height or width in percentages. It will take care. And even when you're specifying the pixels, mention only one. Let's say image has got let's say 500 pixels, and you want it let's say 100 pixels, and you just mention only width. So since let's say your image has got 500, and you want let's say the width to be let's say 1000. So then only for width, let me just demonstrate. That way it looks better. Like for example, original image is let us say 100 by 100 pixels. Okay. Now you want to let's say scale up to let's say 200 by and let's say 200. Note that it may not be just like that. It could be let's say by it could be let's say 68 pixels as well. Okay, so in this case you need to do the math, and you should do 136, right? Or you multiply by 2 times. So in such a case, what you do is here you specify only the width as 200, but don't specify the height. So since it will calculate, it knows that okay, the original image is 100 and you are specifying width as 200, means the magnification factor of 2, then the browser will automatically take this other dimension and magnify by 2 and then it will render it. So that's what I mean, that it automatically will calculate. But as far as possible, if you do it math yourself and then specify it, the browser will not have to take the headache of calculating the magnification. Yeah, always aim for the best visual quality, and also the small file size. So you should basically, these are the two main parameters. So you should have small image files, and as well as you should have best visual quality. So it's a fine balance you need to work it out. Yeah. So let's look at some of the behaviors of the images. So yeah. So whenever you specify the image using image tag, so basically this image is embeds along with the other elements. So what I mean by that is, let me take an example. Yeah. So let me take that. So here itself embed. So I'll use image 1 minute. I'm just looking for the image. Yeah, Edureka image. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Okay. Note that here I have the image, okay, which displays the Edureka logo. Yeah, okay. So now I would like to embed inside a paragraph. So this is Edureka logo. Demonstrated in the class, and then I close the paragraph tag here, and let's see this. Yeah, you can see that now this image is, wherever the image comes inside this the paragraph, image gets displayed there. So image is one of the inline elements. If you recall, there's elements can be a block elements or inline elements. So here image is an inline element. Let us say you want to change the behavior. So the image is inline by default. But if you want to change this behavior, you can go on change in the styling. So whatever you see in green color, which between these characters, it is the CSS comments. So it gets ignored. Just for my convenience, I just put them in the comments so that I can just copy paste rather than typing it. Note that, so here I would like to display, change the behavior, which is the inline default behavior of images into a block. And you see, I just added this, and you see how it behaves. You see this? Now this image occupies the complete horizontal strip. So on the browser window. So even if you resize it, so it remains same. So if a element occupies complete horizontal strip in a browser window, then it's called a block element. So note that now image is behaving as a block. And yeah, that's what I mean. So you can change the behavior using the block elements. So there's something called the clipping of image. Let's say for some purpose you'd like to clip the image. So then you can use what is called position attribute and the clip. Okay. Note that so positioning is one of the very attributes of CSS, which is really complex to understand. Unless you do a lot of practice with this position attribute, you'll not be able to master it. Only way you have to keep different values and then experiment with it, and you need to understand. So one of the values which I use here is the absolute position, and then here I would like to clip. You know the clipping, right? I mean, if you have a picture, you want to cut the corners, the both horizontal and vertical corners. You want to cut as per some dimensions. Then you can use the clip property. So note that here I'm using the rectangle clipping, but the HTML does support even clipping in a circle fashion or elliptical fashion, and the clip property is what is used whenever you see some pictures in a which is displayed only as a circle. So that's when you use it. But that's a little more advanced concept. But here I would illustrate using only rectangle clipping. Okay, so you can see rectangle takes 4 parameters. So here you can specify using the pixels, and for what other units of measures are supported for rectangle, you can just refer the documentation. So 40 pixels. Note that in a browser, whenever you have to mention the 4 dimensions, so dimensions always the top. Okay, so this is top, and then you have to specify from the right. The right side means this direction, top is from this direction, and the bottom is from this bottom of my screen, and the left is from left of my screen. So along these directions you have to specify the dimensions. Note that from the top means from here you can see the image Eureka logo. So 40 means from this here I indicated a small red dot here at the left top corner of this image. So that is called left top corner of the image. All these dimensions are specified from this left side top corner. So in this case, when I said this is the top, so from the top means from this here in this direction, vertical direction, I indicated here just so that it doesn't overlap with this demonstrated image, that line. So from the top 40 pixels means from the top 40 pixels you need to cut. And next is right. Right is from this here, from left side of the window to the right dimension means from here to here to 440 pixels. You can see here 440 and 440. And then next comes the bottom. So the bottom from the top, how many pixels down? That is from the top it is 150 pixels down. So that is 150 pixels here. And then from the left again, here the 60 pixels. This one. So that is from the left side. Note that all these dimensions, these two dimensions, 60 and 440, are measured from the left side of the image, and 40 and 150 they are from the top. From the top, how many pixels down? Here from the left, how many pixels towards right? So that's how you have to specify the rect dimensions. So let me just demonstrate that. So note that this position clips, this you can specify in the CSS itself. So I'm copying that. Okay, here, and so this clip property you can use only when you use the position absolute. Okay, so now, so the display block, I'm just remove that because I don't need it anymore. Yeah, I can keep it, not a problem. So position absolute and rectangle. So these are only these 3 properties are specified on the image. So this is the 3 styling. So note that original image is as is, but you are just displaying only some portion. Now you can see this is how you get it. So that's because I have specified the image dimensions here. So I should remove this width and height, because I'll remove it and then display it. You see here, this is what the same thing is what you can see here in the image, right? So basically from the left, those many pixels, from the top, and from the right, all those what are specified here. Is that clear? Clipping? You can type in the chat window. Okay. Yeah. So you need to, if you can just play with this code, you can see yourself. Elijah has asked a question. So it takes up the same real estate on the screen, just shows the less. Basically, yeah, that you'll be able to see if I change it to inline behavior. Let me just change it to inline behavior rather than the block behavior. Actually, only the clipped part, it will occupy only the real estate as it is required by the clip, not the whole image. Let's see. Okay. So just to your answer question, basically whatever the clip requires, only that much occupied, not the whole image. So for some reason, let me just change it. Yeah, there's some more question. Yeah, Elijah, I think I answer your question. So it will basically it does not take the same real estate. It takes only how much ever it requires. It seems to have cut the image. Yes, Karthik. Yeah, the purpose of the clip is to cutting the image. So that is the purpose of it. That's why even you specify the clip. Amna asked a question. When we use the images as objects, can we add paragraphs in a similar way? Paragraphs around the image, you mean, Amna? Yes, you can add. So only thing is you have to give the what you call whether you need to want it as a block element or inline element. You need to control it. You need to specify or change it using the styling. So if you want as a block or image inline, so change it the way you want. Did that answer your question? Amna, did that answer your question? Okay. And there's one more question from Karthik. Does it move the image? Yes, it does move the image. See, this is once you clip the image, it is as good as basically you are cutting the image, and then how much ever real estate it requires on the screen, it will occupy only that much, unless you give margin padding. So margin and padding we'll discuss once we talk about the box properties, box model of CSS and HTML. Yeah, and there's one more question from Stella. Can you also directly include the clipping in the HTML instead of CSS? I would say no. The reason is, if you are adding the clipping inside HTML, then you are mixing styling with structure. CSS is for styling, HTML is for specifying the structure. Then you are mixing it. So, which is not a good practice. So, you should not do that. First of all, HTML does not allow it. Even if it allows, you should not do that. You should always separate styling and the structure and keep it separate. Yeah, go ahead, question. Go ahead, Stella. You said you have one more question. And always, please remember that okay, structure should be always be in HTML and styling should always be in CSS. Stella, one more question. If you have more than one image, will the clipping be applied to all the images? It depends. Like for example here, see my image. Oh, you mean the, okay, yeah. See, since here the CSS specification I have done for on the img tag. Any image which you displayed using img tag, all these clippings will be applicable. Because in CSS, when you define them, these are called CSS selectors. Here I am using a tag selector. when you use a tag selector, any CSS stylings which you specified using the tag selector, it is applicable for all the elements with that tag. That means, to answer your question, yes, it applies to all the images. So if you want to apply only to a specific image, then you have to use a different selector so that only to that image it gets applied. So then you have to use a different selectors like class selector or ID selector to apply only to the group of them or only one of them. Did that answer your question, Stella? So once we come to CSS styling, then it will be clear to you. Yeah, Amna asked a question, can we use labels to distinguish between the images? What do you mean labels, Amna? Is it IDs on the tags? That's what you mean, labels? Yes, yeah, definitely. So that is what I said. I mean, if you want to apply to only one image, then you specify the ID value. Okay, so let me just demonstrate that. I think once we are doing the CSS styling, I think I will demonstrate it, because today we have a lot of topics to cover. So is it okay if you can just postpone to the later modules? Okay, because we are whatever we have to cover today, I think we should finish it today. Yeah, to answer your question, yes, we should use the ID attribute to apply the styling only to one specified element which has got that ID. And if you want a group of images, if you want to apply, then you use a class attribute. Since class can be present on multiple elements, so any element using having that class attribute value, the styling will apply. So just to tell you, so let us say you have ID values. If you specified some ID values like my image, so you have to give styling like this. So if it is so a class, then you should do dot my image class or Edureka image like this. So yes, so if you prefix that ID value with the hash, means that is a ID. If you prefix with the dot, then it is a class name. Does it answer your question? We'll be covering this later in the later sessions. That's how you specify only either few of them or only one of them. Okay, so anyone else has any other questions? So fine, let's move on. Yeah. So as I said, by default, image is not a block element; it's a inline element by default. By default. Okay. So image is an inline element by default, but you can change the behavior using a display block. And you have seen this. Let's see how do I make these images clickable. Let's go to this. Note that I have this image, and if I'm clicking on this image, nothing happening. Let us say, let me just remove the clip so that okay, let me demonstrate with the clip itself. Now let us say I want to make this image clickable. Currently, as you can see, this is not clickable. The way to make it is just enclose in an anchor tag, a tag. Okay, and so here, note that. So first I'm enclosing inside an anchor tag this whole image. Okay, so this is the image, and yeah, I'm ending the anchor tag here. So when you note that the whole image element I enclose within an anchor tag. So we'll discuss more in detail about the anchor tags a little later, but for now, for demonstration purpose, I'm using it here. So the way to see, when you click on the image, so what is the page that should be displayed? It should be specified using href attribute. In this case, href attribute, I want to say, so I want to go to www.edureka. CO. Okay, so this website I would like to go. That's all. So now you can see here, you save it, and note that currently this is not clickable. That's why you see the same arrow cursor. But when I refresh it, once it becomes a clickable image, then you see it changes to the hand cursor. When you see hand cursor, means it is clickable. As long as you see hand across the image, you see, means in all that space you can click anywhere. When you click it, it will take you to that site, whatever you specified it. You see, now I'm on Edureka site. So that is the simplest way you can make it an image clickable. Now the whole image will be clickable. Note that as soon as see, though this is a clipped image, so outside the clipped portion, this image is not clickable. So here I can click it, nothing happens. Only where inside, only then it is clickable. So this is the one of the what do you call property which you can use to make the image clickable. Using the clip, when you can combine anchor property and clip property to make only that portion which is displayed as clickable. Note that, so I would like to remove this clip because I don't want it. So note that I'm refreshing now. Now I'm seeing the whole image. Note that this complete image is now clickable. You see, I'm moving the cursor across the boundary of this image. So when you see hand, means in that portion the image is clickable. Note that here, so you don't have any image, but still you see the hand cursor, means there also you can click it. Still it goes, because there also image exists, but just you cannot see it. That is the white portion of the image. Is that clear? How to make image clickable? You can answer in the chat window. Is that clear how to make it clickable? Okay, Amna has responded. Yeah, Karthik also responded. Okay, I'll move on. I think it's clear to you now. So that is a very simple way to make image clickable. And there are other properties. Yeah, it's almost 9:09. So would you like to take a small 5-minute break? Because since it is a long 3-hour session, you will be exhausted. Yeah, Amna asked a question. What is the href? Is it a link or is it a path? See, we'll discuss more about the href. See, href takes what is called the URL, Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator can be specified in the 3 different ways. So here I specified as absolute URL. So there is also server relative and also document relative. In those formats also you can specify it. So it is basically the URL, Uniform Resource Locator. Got it? Okay, thank you. Note that so here in this case, href has got what is called URL. It is Uniform Resource Locator. When you said resource could be another HTML page, or it could be a CSS file, or it could be a JavaScript file, or it could be image, it could be SVG file, or any file which is required by this page is called a generic term is a resource. So when you said the URL, so you can use any of those formats. Okay, so would you like to take 5-minute break so that you don't feel exhausted? So please type in the chat window whoever wants the 5-minute break so that you can refresh. Okay, fine. I think many people wanted 5-minute break. So it is now at 9, 10 or 11. So do you want 5-minute break or 10-minute break? Because you know that we have only 3 hours time and we should make optimal use of time. Shaifali responded 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, looks like 5 minutes is a general consensus. Does anyone want 10-minute break? Type in 10 minutes. If you want 10-minute break, I want to see how many people want 5 minutes or how many people want 10 minutes. Okay, no one responded. Let's take 5 minutes. So it's 9:11. I'll be back by 9:16. Please be on time. Otherwise, you'll miss out the class. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break now. So we'll be back in exactly at 9:16. Thank you. I am muting myself. I am back. So all of you are back. You can type in the chat window. Saifal is back. Elijah is back. Gopal is back. Stella. Okay, looks like everyone is back. Let's continue. Thank you. So yeah. So there are other ways of styling images. One way is like, say, if you would like to align these images, then how do you do it? There are two properties. One is called float and position. These are CSS properties. And if you want to give a spacing around the image, like for example, padding, border, and margin. So this padding, border, and margin will be clear once we discuss about the CSS box model. So that will come in the CSS model. CSS module. I think until then, just so today I will not demonstrate padding, border, and margin on images. Today I'll just demonstrate float and position. So once CSS box model is clear, then you will understand these spacing properties better. For completeness sake, I kept it here, but we'll definitely cover in CSS module. So let me just demonstrate float and position. Okay. Yeah, let's go back to my image. You see here. Let me just refresh. You see there now. Since I embedded the image. Note that this text is displayed, and then you are embedding inside the paragraph the image. That's the reason why the image is shown in between this sentence. Let us say, irrespective of where you place the image, but let's say for some reason, like for example, if you see in any other website, the image is always aligned to the left side or the right side. So how do you make it to align to the left or right? So there's a simple property. Just go to that your styling, say float left. That's it. Yeah. So can you hear me now? Yeah. So Gopal is not able to hear. Saifali is able to hear. Lorraine is able to hear. Amna is able to hear. Saifali. Surya Gopal, are you able to hear me? Surya Gopal is not able to hear me. Surya, can you type in the chat window, please? James is able to hear me. Let me just unmute Surya Gopal. Yeah, so now Surya Gopal is able to hear. Okay, good. So I hope all of you are able to hear me. So I'm just continuing with the session. Yeah. So I was explaining about the float to the left and float to right. Did all of you got it? Or was there any break in? Okay, fine. Yeah, Stella want me to repeat it. Okay, fine. So I was saying that the float and position properties you can use for aligning the images. And you can also, let's say if you want to give some borders along the image, if you want to give some padding and margin. So these three, padding, border and margin, these are the three things which will be clear once I explain you about CSS box model. So that will come out in the CSS module later. For now I'll demonstrate, so then you'll be able to understand this padding, border and margin better. So for now I'll skip it. Here I mentioned it for the purpose of completeness sake, but I will demonstrate the float and position. So float, note that I was telling that, so let me just remove that. Yeah. See, without any float, the image comes in between the paragraph. So that's because I embedded, one minute. That's because I embedded the image within the paragraph. You see here, this is Edureka logo, and then in between I have embedded the image and then demonstrated in the class. So that's how you see the image being embedded, is inserted in between the paragraph or sentence. So, but irrespective of where it is present, but if you want to float it always to the left, you can just use the float property in the styling. You say float colon and left, because I want it left aligned. That's it. That's how you can align the image. And I'm refreshing so it always on the left side. If you want to change it to the right, say right and refresh. So now it is always on the right side. So for the float, you can only either float to the left or float to the right. There are only two ways you can float. And yeah. So I would like to give one place where you can play more with this position. So go to W3 schools and then say position, search for position here. Okay, and if this comes here, you just click on that link. It will take you through to the position property. So here you can see the position. So absolute, the left and top properties. So let me just copy the same thing here. So since I'm positioning absolutely, I have to remove the float. So what it means, you are specifying absolute position. The left is 100 pixels from the left side. From the top, it is 150 pixels down. You would like to place the image. And let's go back and then see. See, that's how. See, note that. So now you can see this left hand side, it is 100 pixels. This left side 100 pixels. And from the top, this is 150 pixels. Let's say if you want to reduce a little bit, let's say if you want to make it, let's say 50 pixels from the top, so from the left, then you see the image is moving to the left side. Let's say if you want to move by, so 50, let's say just remove from the top 50 again. So refresh. See, it moved. So using this position and in combination with the left and left top, so you can absolutely place this image anywhere on the screen. Okay, and let's say so for some reason you want to keep this image always at the left bottom corner. Then you can change it to from the bottom 0 pixels. Whenever you have to specify 0, you don't have to specify units, because irrespective of what are the units, 0 is always a 0. Note that if you specify from the bottom 0, means from the bottom 0, and the from right 0 means, so that means this is the right bottom corner. That's what it means. So let's see that. You see here, this image moved to at the right left corner. So that's how you can absolutely place images. So you can play with different values of left, right, bottom, and so on, and you can place it. So there are other ways to place it, and you can just go and click here, try yourself. Okay. And yeah, you can play with it here. Yeah, you can just see here, here this. Note that the red block here is what is being moving. So I said relative, so it moves there. If you say fixed, it moves there. If you say absolute, it comes there. And if you say static, it comes there. So these are all 5 different values which a position can take. So depending upon what you choose, the image will keep moving. And in combination with these position values, if you change the left, right, bottom, and the top, then you can absolutely place any image anywhere in the screen. Is that clear? You can type in the chat window. So just as I said, position itself, position property is very complicated property. You need to play a lot. There's a documentation here. Read it and play with it. Unless you play and then experience yourself, only then you will understand this property better. Okay. Yeah, I said so we'll cover this padding, border, and margin when we talk about CSS box model. Yeah, so we did talk about the top, right, bottom, and left. We used it, and this transformation we have a separate module on CSS transformation and transitions. At that time, you'll appreciate it better. These are some of the complicated features. And let me demonstrate display visibility none. Note that when you use a display visibility none, it does not occupy any real estate, any space on the screen. But when you say visibility hidden, then it is only hidden. The element exists at that place, but only it is hidden, means it is not displayed. So hence it is just hidden, but it exists. It occupies the space, but it will not be displayed. Whereas when you say display none, means it's as good as the element is not present at all. So let me just demonstrate this. So yeah, just remove these properties so that we get back to the original one. So let me just close it. I'll refresh. So now you have the image. Let's note that now the image is there in between the paragraph. You know that after Edureka logo, the image is there. Now what I'll do is I'll say display none. That's all. And now I refresh. You see, now it's a continuous sentence. It appears as though that image didn't exist in the HTML at all. So that is the use of display none. So let me use visibility. Visibility, the value is hidden. So let me just remove it completely, and then let me get back the image. And now note that so there is this image is occupying this much of real estate, and let me say visibility hidden. So I'm putting here, and then I'm now refreshing it. Note that there is a white space. That's because their image exists, element exists, but it is not displayed. So that is the difference between visibility hidden and display none. Okay, so you have to choose as a designer whether you want to use either display none or visibility hidden. So that's your choice. So you as a designer has to make a choice depending on the requirement what you need to do. Is that clear? Display and visibility. This is one of the very important features. So can you please respond in the chat window whether you understood this display and visibility? Okay, good. Everyone understood it. Yeah, similarly, as I said, I mean, you can just go to this W3 schools and then search for this property, display and visibility, and you'll get the page, and then you need to read and then try it out yourself. Okay. Yeah. So let me demonstrate one thing, like how do I use these images as the background. So here note that I said these images you can specify using absolute path or root relative like this. One difference is in case of absolute you will see HTTP and this one. In case of root relative you will see the starting slash symbol. In case of document relative you will not see any slash symbol. That's only the difference. Okay, let me use the background image. So yeah, Elijah has asked question, the use of double quotes. Yeah, see actually in case of URL, though you want to put it in double quotes, still I mean it makes sense for it. So browser is fine with it, happy with it. So it's optional, but it's a good practice to put double quotes or single quotes. It's optional. Is that clear? Is that clear, Stella? So are you not able to hear me? So, okay, Elijah, fine, you can hear me now. Good. So the way to make it background images is, you can see here, I'll just put it at the top. So note that when you set background image, the image has to be there throughout your browser window. So since the browser window, the element is the body. If you remember yesterday's class, so whatever is there inside the body tags, that whole thing is what is rendered in the browser. So you need to apply the style on the body element. So that's the reason why I given body here, and the style I defined as background, and you need to specify the URL where that resource, that is image, which had to be displayed as a background image. So here I put as a single quotes, but you can put as a double quotes as well. And you can see here, because this my audio is lost. Amna, you got it. Okay, fine. So I was saying that okay, since the body element is the one which gets displayed and rendered in the browser, so I want to set a background for the whole body element. So I specify the background property, and then argument you have to give the path of the image. So here in this case, since my style sheet is present in CSS directory, you see here it is present in this CSS directory. So relative to this directory, you need to give how to find the image. Relative to this directory, you need to go to the parent directory and go to ed directory, and in that I have the image. So similarly, that's the reason, that's what I specified here. So dot dot takes you to the parent directory, go to inside ed directory, and then Edureka logo. So let me demonstrate that. You see here, now Edureka logo is displayed as a background of the whole image. So irrespective of, I mean, even if you make it bigger or smaller, still the same image is repeated. So if you don't want to repeat the image Since here now the image is smaller than the browser dimensions, so basically the image gets repeated both on horizontal and vertical directions. So if you don't want to repeat, you can specify in the background as one of the arguments that we'll probably discuss later. You can just, if you're interested, you can always go to W3 Schools and search for background property and then read about it. See here, this is how you can specify it. Yeah. So you can either specify in one argument, one property background, or you can say there's a separate property for repeating X. Let me just show this, and I'll demonstrate this. So means background image is repeated along only X direction, that is horizontal direction. So yeah, so here I should change it. That's because I should put it here. One minute. Let me just go back. So yeah, I can use this background image and repeat. That will be better. Background image. For some reason, I think looks like this latest version of browser has gotten a lot of bugs. Or I don't know. Let me just try in another browser. Trying a Firefox browser. I think looks like I specified something wrong. Okay, fine. Probably I'll see what is wrong here. I'll check it out later. Let me just, there's a lot of other things to discuss. So I think it'll work basically only on along horizontal direction. It'll repeat it. Probably I mentioned something wrong. It should work. Fine. I'll check it out tomorrow. Okay. So Elijah has asked a question. The voice is going and coming down. In your side, you have the image references without the quotes. So I was wondering if it is different to quotes or it is supposed to have the quotes. Yeah, I said the quotes are optional. Okay. Yeah. So I'll just check why it is not working. Probably I can demonstrate it tomorrow again. Okay. So let me just demonstrate one thing, how to use as a bulleted list. So I'll just remove the background image. Let me just comment it out. So whenever you're specifying this CSS styling, you have to be careful because some property will be overriding other property. That's when things won't work. Most probably I would have specified it incorrectly. Let me just check it later. So I like to display one. So here. So this is the unordered list. Yeah. So let me use the simple one. This one. Okay. So you can render it like this. Okay. Let me. Why it is still taking that background image? I think do I need to That's interesting. Oh, I have it here. Oh, okay, that's the reason why. Okay. Yeah. So now you see the front-end web development, PHP, and mastering Python. By default, browsers will display the circle as the bullet points. But if you want to change it, you can change it using. So note that this is the unordered list. I have front-end web development, PHP, MySQL, Python. This is UL stands for unordered list. So you can style an unordered list like this. So you can say margin left. You can specify it. So here the list style image, and you can give the green tick mark. So green tick mark is there, and say my Webutveckla directory. So this is the green tick, which is the PNG image. So that I specified in the URL. And in place of this, the circle bullets, or you see those tick marks coming. That's how you can style it. So depending upon what image you would like to display as these bullet points, you have that image. Since bullet points generally be small, you keep only that small image, and then you can specify in this URL. Is that clear? How to use the styles? Oh, sorry, how to use the images in the list? Okay. Yeah. Let me comment that as well. So we are back to this. So that's how you can use the images as the bullet points. Yeah, let's go to the second module. So in this module, we'll be talking about how to use the hyperlinks. So what is the structure of URL? And what are the relative URLs? What are the absolute URLs? What are the different URL types? How we can use them? How we can use these anchor tags, or basically hyperlinks, to link within the page or outside the page as well. Yeah. So basically, you need hyperlinks to link to some other content. That some other content could be within the same page, or to another page within the same website, or another page outside your website. For example, from Webutveckla site, you can go to Google. From Google, you can go to IBM site, and so on. That is going outside the website. So generally, these hyperlinks are technically in HTML, they're called anchors. And so basically, if you want to link within a particular section, within a page, then it is called in-page link or fragment link. If you want to connect to another page in the same website, then it is called interlink or local link. If you are going to another web page or other site, then it is called external link. External link. So these are the different terminology you will come across when you are reading about the anchors. So distinction is clear. So you can use these links even for linking to email addresses. Yeah, I get a message from GoToMeeting that audio connection has been lost. Okay, fine. Stella and Karthika are able to hear me. I assume that others are able to hear. Okay, fine. So you can use this anchor tag to link. That's interesting. Yeah, you can hear me again now. Let me switch to. So let me just connect here. I don't know whether it will work or not. Yeah, okay, you can hear me now. Good. So yeah, so basically, even you specify how do you link to within this a section of a page or another page or another website. So using what is called URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. There are basically you use hyperlinks to link to other resources. When I said resource, it could be so another HTML text in another HTML page. It could be image, or it could be a script, or style sheet, or objects. So I said that so there are 3 different types of links. In-page link, which is linking to the same website. So this is specified as the fragment in the URL. We'll talk about what is this fragment inside a URL, how to specify it. So if it's the internal link, linking into the same website, so this is called relative URL. So this you can use, this is the URL without HTTP. If it contains HTTP, then it is called absolute URL. So that links to the external website. If you're linking within the same website, you don't have to mention HTTP before, because it knows that, okay, only thing is with respect to that HTML document, you have to provide the relative path, how to reach the other page which you're referring to. So if you wonder why do you need the links, links are basically helpful in navigating from one place to another place, which is a fundamental property or feature of the hypertext. So it could be another page, another website. Okay, so the main purpose of why someone would like to move from one page to another page is that, okay, they would like to discover or more related information about something. Let's say when you're reading about, let's say Mahatma Gandhi, you want to know more about Mahatma Gandhi, then you provide a link, you put a text Mahatma Gandhi and then put a link to Mahatma Gandhi, let's say on Wikipedia. Let's do that. So let me just go and find out Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi. So now I have the link here. I click there. So this is a link, hyperlink, I get it. So let me just create a page. Okay. Just remove this, all this text. So here, Mahatma, India got freedom by the long struggle by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, since Mahatma Gandhi I would like to embed within an anchor, then what you should do is you should have, so within the anchor tag, so note that this is the anchor tag, this is a start and end tag. So here you should specify Mahatma Gandhi. So now that becomes the anchor. So when you click on Mahatma Gandhi, where should it go? It should go to this page. So then you copy the whole thing and then paste it inside the href. Note that here I am giving HTTP. So now it goes to the Wikipedia. That's all. So now we'll refresh and then see. So you see, India got freedom by long struggle by through, I'll just say, just to correct it. Excuse me if I'm not using the correct sentences. Yeah, just the demonstration purpose, I'm using some sentence. So now note that Mahatma Gandhi is underlined, and as soon as you move the cursor there, it changes to the hand cursor. When I click on it, it goes to the externally linked page. So is that clear? That's how you can link it. The same way you can link it to another page within that, within the same website. So that it will be clear once we talk about other things. So just we'll use the relative URL little later. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. Is it clear how to create the links? So what I displayed just now is previously when we were talking about image, so that is the image link. On image we had the link anchor. So now what we displayed just now is the text link, because what is displayed is the text. By clicking on the text, you basically navigate to another page. So this is called text link. Hope that is clear distinction. Yeah, let's look at what is the structure of a URL. So URL has got what is called a scheme. Here in most of the times it will be HTTP. So here you see this is HTTP, or in case of secure page it is HTTPS. In case of FTP site it is FTP. So that's what is the scheme. You can see just match the color scheme. So this defines the protocol what is used to get the resource. So in this case we use a HTTP protocol. And the host name. The host name portion can be the name like www.google.com, or it could be the IP address, the 4-digit IP address. Yesterday you have seen. So IP address is, I think you are familiar, right? So this is the IP address. For Google it is 173.194.117.51. That is the IP address. So you can put, in place of host name, you can put IP address as well. And the port, by default, the port on which it listens for the request, in case of HTTP it is port 80, followed by, so then you have the slash, means, so that's where the actual paths start. So path portion is basically directory path where they can find that HTML page or that resource. When I said resource, it could be like CSS, JavaScript, or style sheet, or anything, image. And then the question mark basically signifies the start of the query. Query basically it's a key value pair. Key values, let's say attribute value pair. So these are the values which the remote website or a web server will be interested in to get some information about you. Like in case of Google, so I'll demonstrate. Let's go back to Google. See here you can see you have question mark. See anything after question mark, here GWSRD is the attribute. Attribute will have a special meaning, how to interpret it, that's known by the web server. And then the value is SSL. Okay, so this is the attribute and this is the value. Let's say if you have more than one attribute value pair, so you have to give like this, ampersand, another, so ATTR, your attribute, and then value. And again another ATTR2, and again value 2, and so on. You can give any number of key value pairs. And then at the end you should have this hash symbol, so which signifies this fragment portion. So fragment is an identifier which specifies to which section of the page you have to move to. So whereas in this case here as a fragment, so they are given as Q stands for the query word. So equal to this is you are searching for Mahatma Gandhi. So this is the general structure of the URL. Note that in this the fragment is optional, query is optional, and even path is optional. When I said path is optional, so at least the trailing, this slash should be present. Even if it is absent, the web servers will put it explicitly and fetch only the root directory of the from the web server. And in this, even port is also optional. If you don't specify port, so this is as good as you specifying port here, :80. So some web servers will be running on port 8080 as well, but it's completely up to you. But if you don't specify anything, so this is a default 80. If you don't specify anything, so it's a default, it's assumed to be port 80. Okay, and obviously, so HTTP, the scheme is mandatory and host name is mandatory. Host name can be either name like this one, www.google.com, or you can, if you know the IP address, you can always take this IP address. Let me just copy it. So I'm just copying this IP address, and I don't know whether it works or not. It depends on how Google has configured their site. And you can give IP address like this and return. So it should work. So I think web server does not allow that, because since it is on a secure site, it will give you all these warnings. You should say it will give you a warning saying that it is not safe to use the IP address like this, because see, it gives the results. So now this proves that www.google.com is same as this IP address. So if you give IP address, so web server doesn't have to do the, no, sorry, not web server, your browser doesn't have to do the DNS lookup. DNS stands for domain naming system. So which maps the name, the human readable name, recognizable name to IP address, which machine can understand. So that mapping is done by DNS. So that DNS lookup is not done if you directly give the IP address. So is that clear? The URL. You can type in the chat window. Okay, fine. Yeah. So I was talking about, so in case of absolute URL, so you will see the HTTP here. So that's the absolute URL. In case of root relative URL, so that is, so with respect to the site folder, website will be hosted on a particular directory on the web server. With respect to that folder, if you want to specify any path, you have to specify using the starting with slash. And if you want to specify with respect to the page, HTML page which you are displaying in the browser, with respect to that, if you want to specify any path, that's called document relative. That is without the forward slash. Okay, so you can use any of these three formats in all the places where a URL, uniform resource locator, is expected, or where hyperlink is expected in case of anchor tag. And yesterday we did demonstrate about, let's say in case if you know that most of your URLs are with respect to some directory, in case of here ls directory, so then you can specify that base tag inside a head element. So give href, and this is prefixed with all the relative document relative URLs, and then it will prefix and then it will look for resource. Basically user agent. User agent is another term for browsers, your web browser. So user agent or browser will transform the relative URLs to absolute URLs, because relative URLs is only convenience, both site relative and document relative. But actually to fetch it, let's say especially if it is outside, they always have to convert relative to absolute. Note that though I defined here as just a document, here also you can give http://www.edureka.co. You can give this as well. Okay, this is also valid. Yeah. So yeah, so these are the different places where URLs can be used. We demonstrated an anchor tag and then the link tag. Okay, so where this is how we link to the external style sheet. You can see here REL stands for relationship. That okay, this document has got the style sheet relationship with this resource specified in the href, which is my style sheet file. If you see here in my HTML document, I should have that link. You see here, that's how I link to the external style sheet, which is this. Okay, that's how you link it. And similarly, in case of a script, so this is in script you specify the external JavaScript. So there also in the script tag, note that here attribute is href, but here it is src. Okay, so because it's the source of this JavaScript, so there you specify. Though here is specified just as myscript.js, here also it could be, you can give full path like this, it's still valid. So here also you can give http://www.edureka.co. So this is also valid. Okay, but so it is not good practice to link for a JavaScript to the external site unless you are using a framework like jQuery framework. So note that when you are linking for JavaScript to external site, you always link to external authentic, trustworthy resources like Google. Okay, or your known a site which can be trusted, because if they put some write code in JavaScript to steal information from your website, JavaScript is capable of doing it, then you are at the risk of security. So always link to, especially for JavaScript code, at trustworthy websites. Yeah, so we did even look at it, how to use inside the image tag with source attribute. So this is how you can use it. We have seen that, okay, even in object data also, this is how you can link to a shockwave file. And this we have seen company logo. We demonstrated with the Android logo linking to SVG file. Note that even the data also, though I specified here as a relative path, you can give absolute path as well. Okay, and yeah, this is a little bit theory. I would suggest you to basically just straightforward, just to make it things very clear. Okay, you can read it. Like for example, the hyperlink could be just it could be just empty, like wherever I'm hyperlink. So this place, so this value could be just empty. In this case, it doesn't go anywhere. It could be a fragment, or it could be a relative path, or it could be external path, external URL as well. So all those are valid here. So here this is a link object. You can just read it. This is theory. I'll skip it. Basically, how do you link within the section of a page means? So why do you use it is, so let's say if you want to scroll to some section which is at the bottom of the page, so then you use this link. Let me demonstrate that using an example. Yeah. So I'll just demonstrate the practical use where it's being used. Yeah. So this is a URI scheme. You can read about what is the URI, more about it here. Okay. So note that this is a Wikipedia page, and I'm just scrolling down. I'm just looking for something where they use this fragment. Interesting. Just a minute. Yeah, here you can see the page separated by semicolon. You see here superscripts. So there, what you see is, you can see the right bottom, this portion. You can see the URI scheme hash site note 1. So here, so that is after hash, that is what is called a linking within the same page. Note that when I click here, it goes to that page. So this is a site note 1. Okay, so this site note 1. So this is the tag used. Let me demonstrate using the debugger. So I can just go and inspect a particular element. So you can see here, this is the LI element, this portion, site note 1. Note that is defined as ID. So all the fragments value should occur as a value of an ID attribute. Means basically it will go and display, it will take you to that element. Okay, so this site note 1 is what is this site note 1. Is that clear? You can type in the chat window. So have you understood the segments? The fragments. Okay, Surya Gopal want me to repeat. Okay, so basically we talked about the fragment, right? So fragment is the part. See here, this is a fragment. So this fragment is used to link within the site, within the page. So not within the site, within the page. So what are this site note 1? What are you give specify as a fragment that should occur as an ID attribute? You can see here on the li element, this ID attribute equal to values site underscore note hyphen 1. So this site underscore note hyphen 1 should be same as this. Only then when you click on that link, it'll bring you to this element. Is that clear, Surya Gopal? Okay, fine, good. Yeah, so I said here the specific point where you want to go, so that you should put it as an ID attribute value. So you can read it, what are the use cases. Like one use case is like, for example, when you are at the top of the page, when you want to go to the bottom of the page, then you use these segments, especially going to the definition, footnotes. That's when you use the fragments. So yeah, it should that's site note 1, so it should appear as the value of the ID attribute. Okay, I'm just making it full screen. Yeah, fine. I think see this is basically this piece of code demonstrates how to use the fragments. You see here as the href I given hash and then URL. This means this is a fragment. So it means you are linking. This shows that okay, you are linking within the same page, like I demonstrated in the Wikipedia page. So note that this URL should appear as the value of ID here, and this source anchor should appear here, value and destination and so on. Example is appearing here. Means when you click on this link, it will bring you to the section where this element is displayed. Hope that is clear. Yeah, let's go on to the module 2.3. So basically, I mean, this is also a lot of theory. So I would like you to basically read through it. Only thing which, like if something is not clear, just explain the new stuff. So we know about href attribute. There's something called access key. So this access key takes a k is basically you can put any value like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can put even negative values as well. But negative values doesn't have any effect. It's as good as disabling it. So advantage of using access key is note that for moving from one link to another link, I'll just demonstrate it here. In the link, if you have done, if Wikipedia has done it correctly, then it should be proper. So I'm just pressing tab. You can see the little square round, what do you call, rectangle, which moves from here. Now it is on the navigation. When it type tab, it goes to the next one, that is search. So you can see here is the audio. Note that so this small blue rectangle is moving from one link to another link. Okay, this is, you can do it by just typing the tab character. So this is one of the ways. Like for example, some people have difficulty in moving using the mouse because if they have motor problems, then they'll prefer to use, since their hands are on the keyboard, by entering a key, they would like to navigate to different links on the page. So for them, so you can just keep using tab keys and navigate to different links which are present on the web page. Okay, this is how you can do it. So this is another accessibility feature which is supported by HTML. So this is for the people who have got the motor problems, like Stephen Hawking. He cannot move his arms. For such people, not may not be so as bad as Stephen Hawking's, but some other people who have got arm problems, so they can use this feature. So basically, the value you should give is access key is equal to 1, 2, 3, and so on. Basically, in the order in which you specify, when you press tab, it moves to the element which is specified as 1 and then 2 and then 3 and so on. This is an accessibility feature. You can read a little other theory later. Okay, so see, if you don't specify any access key, then by default, whatever the order in which it appears in the browser, so it assumes that it assigns by default the values, access key values as 1, 2, 3. But if you specify explicitly, then your value will take the precedence over the default values. Is that clear? How to use the access key? Though I would love to demonstrate these things in this class, because of lack of time, because just we have only another 45 minutes left. There's a lot of content I cannot demonstrate, but I would suggest you to so try it out, and if you have problems, get back to me on the discussion forums. I'll be more than happy to help you. So as I said, so today's session is actually worth of almost 6 hours worth of content, or more than, I would say it's 9 hours. Really, I have to demonstrate each and everything what is there on the slide. So, but my recommendation is you don't need to use access key explicitly, because even the default is fine. A default navigation using the tab character. Only in a special case, so if you want to change the order, only then you need to use access key. And let's say if you want to have, let's say if the language, let's for example here Amazon Japan, so which takes you to Amazon Japan page, and so that page, obviously Amazon Japan page will have the language in Japanese. So what is the language of the remote website? So that you can tell upfront to the browser using the href hypertext reference language. That's what is shortcut for href lang. So JA stands for Japanese. So you can specify it. So browser take this information, okay, and in case if it has to invoke any automatic translation of that page for you, then this information will be useful for the browsers. So since they know that, okay, you only understand English, so even though that remote website is there in a Japanese language, Google will automatically kick in that automatic translation of the web page, and it will display you the same Japanese page in English for you. So that will give a better user experience. Okay. And similarly, the tab index is also the similar. Okay, you can read this also has got a lot of theory. I think if you read it, so you should understand better. So the tab index is also the similar to access key. But only thing is here, the order in which you need to navigate is what is specified in the tab index. And so in the HTML, whenever there's something called target attribute. So you can see here right hand side. So for anchor tag, we know about href attribute. There's a target attribute as well. So for target, you can give different values. Like in this case, I have given as a blank. So when you give a blank, means it opens in a new window. So when you give self, it opens in the same window or frame, and so on, different values. So probably I'll demonstrate this. Because we already have that, I'll demonstrate. See, note that here I have href. So here, see, if you have noticed it, this opened in the same web window. So now I want to give a blank, and then I'll just open the page. I'll refresh it. So anytime you make any changes to your HTML or CSS page, you should always click on this so that it gets refreshed and you get the latest content. Note that now I'm clicking on Mahatma Gandhi. This is not expected behavior. Basically it opens in the different tab. If you notice it, here it opens in a different tab. So for Chrome, is a new window is a different tab. like if you just see it, now I remove that. So I think I may have extra character. Let me just see. Yeah, so it opening a new tab. Let me just remove the target blank. Okay. And now again I'm refreshing it. Note that I'm clicking and it gets displayed in the same tab. So that is the difference. Is that clear? Yeah, there's one question from Amna Khan. Yes, you can use both access key and tab key together. So you can just play with them, use them, and then see how it behavior is different. Okay, does that answer your question, Amna? Okay, so that's the purpose of target. So in place of blank, you can use self and parent and top, and then you can let's just demonstrate with. I think yeah, top will open completely full new browser window. Let me just demonstrate that alone. Underscore top. Top, change it like that, and now refresh the page. Now I'm clicking. So yeah, I think Chrome is behaving the same as the target. So I mean again here it will change little from one browser to another browser, but yeah, you need to test. So what said in the documentation and the real implementation might differ depending on the vendor. So you have to sit and then use it. Okay, you can just try it out in a different browser. Yeah. Here there's another thing called there's a concept called MIME type. MIME type is called multi-purpose internet mail extension. So this actually, as the name suggests, so this MIME type has been defined initially for emails. You know that in the email you can attach files, which could be like a text file or could be doc file, image files, or any file. So note that doc file and other image files, they are binary files. When the binary file has to be embedded within a mail, then you need some mechanism to encode that binary file. So then this MIME has been invented. So the same concept, since it was popular and then it was used quite stable feature in mail SMTP mails. So the same thing has been adopted by HTTP standard for basically for specifying, like to tell what type of the resource that is. So you can specify using the type. So this says that okay, it's the remote. When you click on it on this index, the resource it goes to. So the type of that resource is it's a text file and it is having a HTML code. Similarly, in case of any other like image file, you should say as image and so on. So there are different values which you can be specified for type. You can read about the documentation. So note that this type information is optional, but if you give this information in the HTML, so browser we have to do, it doesn't have to detect like what type of it is, the resource to which it is going to. So since you are giving the information upfront, so the load on the browser to detect automatically is reduced, and then your browser will your page will render much faster. It's basically hint to the browser. Yeah, module 4. This is a list type. In this, there are basically the list. You can basically, there are two types of lists. One is the ordered list, which is display the sequence number like 1, 2, 3, 4 automatically. Unordered list, where you will see it will display the bullets. So note that these the list you can nest one inside the other. The main use case of this list is when you have to display the text menus. Okay, and using CSS we can style them as well. So here is the list type. So one is the unordered list. So you can see here the tag UL. This UL stands for unordered list. That blue color you can see. So the main characteristics of unordered list is, okay, so what are the LI stands for list item. That's why I see the LI, list item. So basically inside our list you will have basically list items one after the other. In the unordered list, the order is not, order or sequence is not important. Means so whether you move little bit one, like you put apples below orange or banana, it does not make much difference. Then you use unordered list. Let's say if you are following like a sequence of steps, then you have to give sequence numbers, because in that order only you have to follow. Then you use ordered list, which is comes in the next slide. Note that end tag, this here in this case end tag LI is optional. Means even if you don't give it, still browsers will be able to render it. But not having end tag for list items is not good practice. It's a thumbs down. So what I mean to say is, though it is optional, you should always put it as a good practice. Okay. Note that since on UL and OL tag, though I defined it here, these for them these tags also you can have the core attributes ID, class, and so on. So those are also applicable for it. So here this is the ordered list. Basically here in this, order is important. Basically you use that for specifying the sequence or steps or instructions. Okay. And here also LI is optional, but it's a thumbs down practice. By not having LI means you should have LI as well. Let's demonstrate this. So let me go back to this. I'll just remove this. I'll have this LI items. Okay. So note that this is an unordered list. So since this is an unordered list, it shows the bullet points. Let me just change this to ordered list. Whoa. So this is the ordered list. That's all I changed. Note that LI elements are the same. Refresh it. Now you see the sequence number 1, 2, 3. So by default it uses the decimal numbers 1, 2, 3. If you want, you can change this styling of these numbering. Let's say you want to use the Roman numbers, you can style that as well. Yeah, I'll just show here list style. List style. Yeah, list style property. I can go there. Yeah. So list style type. Here you can just click here. Yeah. You can see here list style type upper Roman. Okay. So I can go here and OL, ordered list. Now you see it changed to, earlier it was 1, 2, 3, now it is the Roman numbers. So like that you can change just by specifying this list style type upper Roman, you can change the styling. Note that in HTML I haven't defined, whether it should be used Roman numbers or decimal numbers. So you change that using this list style type. Is that clear? Styling the list. Stella asked one question. Text slash indicate a folder. No, text slash, the previous case it doesn't indicate the folder. It just indicates that it's a text file. But see, text could be like, it could be SVG file, or it could be HTML file, or it could be any like CSS or any other file. So basically text is the main type, and after slash is the more specific type. That's what it means. Stella, does that answer your question? Okay, good. Yeah. So what I meant here in optional is, so here this is what I meant. Let's say even if you delete these li elements, still your browser will be able to display properly. Okay. So here I'll just add one more just to distinguish that. Okay. So mastering Perl. So I'll just add it just to demonstrate that. Okay. Now it is taking the latest content. See here mastering Perl has come. But note that here I haven't specified the end tags for list items, but still it displays. But this is not a good practice. You should explicitly put li element like this. So that is a good practice, and you should always have the end tags like this. So, okay, like this. This is a good practice. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. So, do you people want just quick 5-minute break here? Or can I continue? Are you able to hear me? Can you please type in the chat window? So, Karthik, he said it's fine to continue. Stella want a break. I think, yeah, Saif is also said let's continue. Okay, I think consensus seems to be continue. Let's continue. Fine. Yeah, let me just let me take just 1 minute break. I need to go for nature's call. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me now? So you can type in the chat window. Can you hear me now? Okay. Good. So I was saying that, yeah. So there's just like an ordered list, unordered list, there's something called definition list. This is used for defining the terms and the like abbreviations especially. There's a question from Elijah. Is there any attribute for specifying an alternate smaller image that can show while waiting for the larger image? No, I think this is the old one. I think that's fine. Yeah, so here as I said, so like OL and UL, ordered list, unordered list, you can use the definition list using a DL tag. So it has got the two portions. One is the definition term and definition description. This is used for like IP, there's abbreviation, you put it under definition term. Definition description, you give the basically the expansion of it. Let me just copy paste the same thing so that I can demonstrate it. So put the same code, and note that I'm using the same code. So this I pasted here. Okay, and you can see here this is a DT and DD. So here HTML means hypertext markup language. So expansions. So you can use this for defining the abbreviation terms. So I'm refreshing it. So this is how it gets displayed. IP with some indentation internet protocol and so on. Note that this internet protocol and HTML, so they are next to each other. So you can use the styling to basically provide some space. Okay, that is the purpose of definition terms. Note that here also DT and DD are also optional, but so it's omitting them is a bad practice. It's a thumbs down practice. So you should put it explicitly. And yeah, so as you can see here, you can list. So this is unordered list, which is shown in pink color. So that unordered list, you are basically nested inside the outer unordered list. So like this, you can even nest the ordered or unordered list as well. So basically, even you might be wondering what is the use of this. So you might have seen basically you have the main menu. Main menu, if you have select one menu item, you will have sub menu. Sub menu will have again another sub menu. So there you see that menu items menus are basically embedded inside another. So to implement that feature, you need to use the nesting of the lists here like this. Okay, you can just try it out. You just copy paste the code in a browser and it should work. You will understand it, how it works. I will not demonstrate because it's just like with whatever this nested item, it just shows is displayed with some indentation with respect to the its parent. That's the only difference. And one purpose of, as I said, unordered list is there's a special tag, nav tag. I just indicated with 5. This is the HTML5 logo should be displayed, right? Because menu doesn't look with the bullets. It look good.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Are you able to hear me? Can you hear me now? I think, yeah, this looks like the technical issue from the GoToMeeting side. I have not done anything. It's just getting lost and then getting connected again. Yeah, I was saying that, did you hear me while I was explaining the nav tag, that is a HTML5 tag? If you heard me, just type in yes. Yeah, so yeah, I was explaining that. I think that's when you lost, my audio was lost. Yeah, let me just explain that. Yeah, basically nav tag is a HTML5 tag which is used for specifying the navigation, basically the menu in a web page. It was not present in HTML 4.01. It's a new tag which is defined in HTML5. One purpose of using UL unordered list is when you're specifying the menu inside a nav tag. Nav stands for navigation. So note that here I have the menu item: home, product, services, support, contact us, about us. So this whole UL tag, element, you embed inside a nav element, a navigation element. You're wondering, so this is one of the semantic tag which is defined in HTML5. So I'll explain you what is the purpose, because this is mainly for the to improve the semantics of HTML. So that's why this tag has been defined newly in HTML5. Okay, and yeah, you can style this. Does this answer your question? I think someone asked question. What is the nav tag? Karthik, did it answer your question regarding the nav tag? Okay, good. So note that here under the UL unordered list, which is enclosed, which is embedded inside nav tag. So I given the list style none, because when you define the unordered list, by default it shows the bullet points or the sequence numbers. Definitely in the menu you don't want the bullet points to be displayed. So in that case you suppress the bullet points using list none. Then it will not display. And you have to use the float, because all the elements you want to appear, you want it to appear in a one after the other in a one horizontal line. Note that list items are block elements by default. So if you want to make it the list inline elements, then you have to change the style using CSS. And you can control what font you want that list items to be displayed, and what color, and so on. All that styling can be controlled in the CSS declarations. So how to display the menus, probably in the next classes, whenever the opportunity comes. At that time I'll demonstrate it, because there is a lot more to cover. Yeah, next one is how to. So that completes the ordered and unordered list. Let's look at how to create the tables. So tables, you can have very simple tables or complex tables. You can nest the tables one inside the other. Just like you can style unordered list, you can style the tables as well. So the table model is like this. So this is a picture. So basically, so the horizontal ones are called row 1. This is the first one is row 1. Second one is row 2, row 3, row 4, and so on. So horizontally, these are the rows. These are the horizontal rows. The vertical, they are columns. So this whole thing is column 1. This whole thing is column 2, and so on. So this is the basic that table model is used by the HTML and as well as in all other programming languages. Note that this table is the concept for us humans, but in reality at the machine level, so there is no concept of table. So the tables, even though we look at this as a two-dimensional structure, but it actually at the physical memory level, at machine level, so it's just a single dimensional array. So the way the elements are stored is like this: first row 1, and then it scans across the columns, and then comes to the row 2, and then scans across all the columns, then comes to row 3 and across all the columns. So this is the scanning pattern, and in that order the elements are stored inside the memory. That's how even the content, even if you have a concept of arrays inside any programming language, but though arrays are two-dimensional or even multi-dimensional arrays, so but essentially they are stored sequentially at physical memory level. Okay, so is the concept of tables clear? Amna's replied yes. Sci-Fi also replied. Okay, good. Yeah, Stella also replied. Good. Looks like everyone understood. That's the concept of tables. So yeah, here is a little theory. You can read about it. I'll just go directly to the markup. So markup is like, say the table starts with a table tag and table end tag, and within that each row has to be enclosed within a TR. TR stands for table row, and the end tag is, again, this is a TR end tag. So this TR tag specifies one complete row, what I described just in the previous slide, that one complete row of the table. So within the table, okay, and you have different cells. Each cell is defined using this TD. TD stands for table data. So whatever you would like to display in each cell, table cell. So table cell is here, this one rectangle, that is one table cell. So the data to be displayed should be enclosed within TD. So if you have, let's say, 10 different cells, you should have 10 such markup: TD start tag and TD end tag. Within that you should give the content. You might be wondering, what is this TH? TH stands for table header. Note that every table you need to have column headings, like what the data it contains. Like for example, here this is Java subject. So that is, you should have subject as a text. So this is a 95. What does a 95 mean? So on the heading, you should say it's marks. So 95 is the marks. So that is the meaning of that column is generally specified in the TH. So note that, so TH is also like a cell, but there you basically specify it's a table header. So it is the additional information that, okay, let's, for example, if table goes across multiple files, multiple pages, then the browser knows that, okay, on each page this table header is repeated, even though you specified once. So that is the purpose. It can be used, but how to use it, it is left to the browser. Is that clear? How to specify the table? Can you type in the chat window, please? Okay. So let me just copy this and then demonstrate it. The same thing. So I think they have some special characters. I'll just remove them. I don't know why I got them. Because it's in PowerPoint, and that's why there's some extra characters are there. I'm just removing them. This is VT. Okay. So that's how it's displayed. So note that rather than putting in a single line, you can always put some indentation like this so that it is easy to read. It's recommended, okay, you put indentation like this so that when you're reading, you know what it is. Okay. So this is how you need to indent. So now you know that, okay, this is a subject. So let me just render it. I think there's some special characters are there. I think something is copied there. Yeah. Yeah, just forget about this. I think for some reason, I think since I copied from there, some invisible characters have been copied. That's why it's not able to render it. I don't know what is that special characters. Let me just do like this and see. I don't know. So I need to debug why it's happening. Yeah, see, I think, yeah, there's some special characters are there. I think since you should not copy from the PowerPoint. Okay. Fine, it's just because of some invisible characters here. Because of that, such things are coming. Okay, so just you can see here, this is the table heading, and you can see that's the Java and the 95. Yeah, yeah, copy to the notepad. That's what I did. Actually, it should do it fine. Let me just copy to some other place. But still, if those are special characters, somehow it will display it. Let me just, I think here I delete it. I mean, if I put it in the same character, then I'm sure that it will. Let me just demonstrate it. So you should not feel that there's some extra characters are coming. Yeah. So. Yeah, you see, there's just one character is there. Some character somewhere it's hidden. So it's because of that. Nothing else. I think this is here. Okay. Yeah, see, that's gone. So that's a table. So now, basically, you can even repeat any number of, so this table, this row, okay, you can repeat it. This whole row, you need to copy it. And then you should see and copy there, and this second one you can replace HTML, and you said, so all of you, I want you to score 99. So you get this is our table. So hope it's clear now. The table. There's one question from Amna. There's no border lines around the table. Yes, border lines you can control using styling. So it's possible to have border lines, but you have to style using CSS. By default, tables are displayed without cells, without the border lines, but you can have, you can style it. Okay, and so the table has got what is called table T head and T body as well. Anything which you would like to display as the table header, so that you can enclose T head, and the table body, like for example, whatever like Java and then HTML, that constitutes the table body. So those markups, TR elements, you can embed inside T body. And there's also different elements like caption. Like say at the bottom of the table, you would like to define a caption, right? You can use a caption tag. And a group of columns, you can again mark them. You can as a column group, like here. Okay, so you can see column group here again example. So you can use the column group as well. And say like at the bottom, for example, when you have like say multiple marks, you are at the bottom you want to give a total. So that total you can specify using tfoot. Tfoot stands for table footer. So basically table footer also is a one row, but irrespective of where you define it, whether you start at the beginning and ending, so the table head, T head and T foot, always they remain at the top and the bottom, irrespective of where you define inside the HTML. That's the purpose. Okay, and note that if you want to nest a table, means inside a cell you would like to display another table. So then note that TD is to mark up for one cell. So within the cell you can again nest another table like this. So that's perfectly valid. But you have to be cautious about nesting the tables like this, because so note that though table appears simple for you, for the browser it needs to do a lot of processing to really render it on the browser. Especially if the table is huge, and then within that huge table if you nested a lot of other tables, then it might become very complicated for the browser to display, and it might slow down the rendering of the page. And these tables are also tougher for the screen readers to read out, so that visually challenged people will not be able to understand what is there in the table. As long as it's a simple table, they will be able to visualize the visually challenged people. But if you nest the tables, then it will be difficult for the visually challenged people to understand. Therefore, nested tables is discouraged from the perspective of accessibility to the visually challenged people. But technically, yes, browser does support it. Okay, and these are some of the features which in future will be supported in, like for example, HTML5 has been standardized, but there's something called sorted attribute. Like for example, you're clicking on a particular row or a column, so you can sort all the elements. So that is one of the attributes which is suggested in HTML5, or even though you specify it, by default it will show in the sorted attribute, still it's not clearly specified, but it will come in the future 5.1 standard. Okay, this is how you can basically style the tables. Let me just demonstrate only one. So this is I use this border, this type. Can you hear me? Yeah, so this is the styling I use to style that elements. Yes. See, you can see now the borders are, since we are doing the styling for each cell, the style is applied to each cell. So this looks very awkward. So basically here you see for between Java and 95, there's a two horizontal lines, but actually in actual table it should display it as a single line. So that you can control using the additional CSS property, so that you can play with it. There's something called the collapse and so on, the border collapse. So you can use that. You need to play with it to really understand how it behaves. Yeah, I think so I think so basically see, note that all the, see what are the some properties will be applicable only certain cells. See here what I specify, this style is applicable for TDs. So here some properties like this collapse will be applicable at the table level. So you should use at the right place so that it behaves properly. And you see now those cells are horizontal, vertical lines, two lines are merged to become one. So if you don't, these properties, if you don't use it at the right place, so they will not work. You have to use it at the right place. Is that clear? Styling the tables. Can you type in? Is that clear how to style the tables? Okay, great. Let me just okay. And yeah, next one is the forms. So forms, you are familiar with what is forms. So now time is almost 10:57. So I need another 10-15 minutes. Is it okay if you overflow by about 10-15 minutes today? I need your permission. Okay, Surya Gopal, you can leave, but later you can catch up with the video. Yeah, sorry about that. I am slipping. I'm overflowing by about 10-15 minutes because during the session I've been answering your questions. I think that's where my time is gone. Okay, thanks for your consideration. We'll quickly finish. This is very straightforward, but definitely when we talk about HTML5 forms, at that time we'll again revisit some of these topics. So currently what I discuss will be repeated in the later module as well. So even if you cut short, that's fine, because we'll come back and revisit again. So you know what is the purpose, right? Forms used basically for collecting the information from the end users, and inside a form you will have an input box where you type in the text. You have check boxes where you can choose your radio buttons. There's a slight difference between check boxes. Check boxes you can select more than one option. Radio button you have to choose only one option. Like for example, one good example of radio buttons is like, so regarding the like say gender of a person. So gender is like male or female, and you cannot choose both, right? Obviously you have to be only one of them. Of course there is a third category, I don't want to discuss about it, but obviously it's only one of either male or female. So that's when you use radio buttons. But let's say how many programming languages you know. Since you know multiple languages, let's say I know Java, C++, Perl, Python, so on. So since I know multiple languages, so I'll prefer to use checkboxes because I can choose more than one. That's when you use it. And sometimes let's say there's only limited set of options. Like for example, how many states are there in US? How many states are there in India? Like there's only California, Texas, and Florida. Only those are the fixed number of states. And you don't want the user to enter the name of the state because they might misspell it. In such a case, you prefer to use what you call select pull down menu. So that when you click on that, it'll show what all the states available. You can go and choose which state you belong to and where you are residing. So then this is a good thing is that user knows what are the available options, and then you can choose one of them. So that there's no chance for the error, spelling mistakes in what user enters. That's when you use the drop down or selection list. And similarly, when you want to use like for a click button, you can use the images and so on. Okay. So forms have got, as I said, the main purpose of form is to collect the information from the users. And form have got different controls, different components. One component is called label, which is for display to describe what is the form is. Like for example, first name, last name, the gender, and your address. Okay, this is what you need to display, like what you are expecting from the user. So that you use using the label tag. And whenever whatever user need to enter, like for example, my username, my password, so that you specify using what is called text box. And the check boxes and select boxes, radio boxes, and there are different tags for each one of them. So generally the forms are coded, they're specified inside the HTML. The browser side, you can take action on those forms using JavaScript. On the server side, so it will be processed by PHP or Node.js. So this will be clear, I think, once we demonstrate in the later module. So let's see how the form looks like. So this is a theory. Let me just skip all of that and let me directly go this form. Okay, so let me copy that. Yeah, this form I would like to copy. So I'll remove this table and then copy paste the form. Note that here again I have some special characters which I would like to delete it. Okay, the reason why I'm copy pasting from the slides is that you know that I'm using the code which is working. Note that this is not a good practice. I think I'll change this example. So you should not break it like this, but so this is not the right way to do it. See, here I'm using the breaks, but actually you should not use the breaks. You should style using CSS. Since I don't want to get into the CSS details quickly, I'm just demonstrating this. Note that you should not even describe like this. You should use, so most of the website will have in plain text like this, but that's not a good practice. You should enclose even the labels also like this. Probably if you want indent, you can do that as well. And you have to enclose this. So I have given in the example that's a bad practice. So I should give like this. So I'll change it. Fine. And note that just for now, just remove. Let me just remove this. This is a simple one. This is a simple form. So note that it's enclosed between the form start tag, end tag, and I have a label tag for displaying the label, and I have input box. Similarly, the second label, input tag. Let me display. I think, yeah, I think there's some special characters. I think that's the problem with this copy pasting. Let me just go to the label tag. So you see here, this is how you define it. So I define it the same way as well. So label label. I think there's something which is not right. Let me just copy it from here. So rather than fixing that. Yeah, this is correct. Okay. So this action, I think only if you're crossing the form. Okay, only then it's required. Yeah, so this is a radio button. So if you want to, the way to change it to the input box is it's very simple. Just type here instead of radio, you type text. So this name, all this is not required. Okay, and similarly this type here, you just type this as a text. And again this name is not required. So you see here, the mail is the label, and here you can enter the text. So yes, I am male. You can type a text here. I am not female. So finally, when you click on submit, that's when the action, whatever you specified in the action, that is demo form.asp. This value of what you entered inside this input boxes here. Like yes, I am male, yes, I am not female. Those values will be sent to this form, demo form.asp, or it could be PHP file on the web server. And now web server will take your what are the values you provide in the form, and then it will do the processing. Is that clear? We'll come back to that in the next slides. In HTML5 forms. Is that clear? So just what you need to understand here is okay, the label, there is a separate tag called label for specifying the labels, and the separate tag for getting the input, that is input tag. Okay. So that is the basic structure of form. Note that I given here BR in the red color because that's not a good practice. And here first name, last name also I given the red color because I have not enclosed this inside a label tag. That's not a good practice. Here you should not use the breaks, line breaks. That's not a good practice. Actually, you should style it using CSS. Yeah. So for input, if I noticed it, there's something called type attribute. For earlier, the first time when I displayed the male, female, the type value was radio. Then the radio buttons were displayed. But I changed it to text for entering the text. So that's what so here, this type information. So if you change it to radio here, and instead of text box, you will see the radio buttons. You'll see here, it will change. You know, these radio buttons. You can select one of them. Note that here I can select both of them, but radio buttons, that's not the property. For radio buttons, there's something called name attribute. So you have to specify the name as the same value for all of them. I'll demonstrate here. You can see here there's something called male, and the same male is displayed here. The name, ID. Okay, and so if this and this matches, then like for example here this male. 1 minute. Yeah, this is a female. I think I'll demonstrate this later. I think it will be still confusing for you now. I'll just skip it for now. But like I specified the type as radio, and there's a different values like this radio I used, this text I demonstrated. Whenever you want to user to enter a password, you should give it as a password. And whenever you want a file to be selected, you have to use file and hidden and so on. So by using different values for this type attribute, so the input control will differ. We'll come back to this a little later. You can read to this slide. Okay, and you can also display the button. If you see here, the submit button, reset button also can be displayed using the same input. You see here, the input type is equal to submit. That's what displays the button here. So this button is clickable. So I would recommend not to use this input submit for displaying the button. There's a separate tag called button. So that's what is the recommended practice for displaying the buttons. Okay. So just one thing I would like to demonstrate. Whenever, like for example, so this is a login.php, and this PHP form would have displayed the form. So for username and password, username and city. So here, what is in pink color, that's what is the name of the input field, and what is in green color, Saya and Bangalore. Those are the values which I would have entered into the input boxes by the end user. So those values will go as this green color text. Note that, so question mark, you see this is also the, if you recall your URL structure, in the same URL structure it is this URL string is composed and it is sent as a HTTP request to the backend server. The backend web server will fetch this. Now it knows what is the user ID. It knows that the user is Saya, and it knows that user is from city Bangalore. And now it will do the processing what is required. And then again it does the processing and sends the next web page. That's how the data is exchanged between the browser and the backend web server. Yeah, there is again the select. So you can use this select option. So again, if I copy from here, it will not work. I'll just copy from here, W3 schools, to demonstrate that. So this is the, just copy this tag, and inside that I'll have So this select is a tag again. So the select, so tag will have its inside elements like options, what options you would like to display. So here, so you see here, select, when I click on this, you get different option. You can choose any of these options. And then what are the value chosen by the user, it will also go as a name value pair, as I demonstrated before. So like this, UID and city, and then what is the option? Okay. And yeah, there are just 3 more slides. We are just slipping by a few more minutes. I think we can continue. Yeah, like there are different attributes, like for attribute, which will tell, so for which input box this label should be associated with, and whether it's checked or not. Like for example, let me just demonstrate the checked. Note that here the male and female, none of the options are checked. Let's say by default you want to check male. So what you can do is you can go to male, and here this input box, here it's on the checked is on the input type. Okay, you can go here and check and say checked. Means by default this this is checked. You can go and check it. See here, by default male is checked. So by let's say if most of the users are, let's say, males, I don't think so, just for example's sake. So then you can by default give select that option, so that users don't have to click on that. That's give a better user experience. Or if you want to make female as checked, just go on, put it there, here, and you can see now female will be checked. Okay, so the check is, you can see the black dot inside that radio button. That's what is checked. And similarly, you can use, there's something called size attribute, source and value. I would suggest to play with this. So I given the theory how to use it inside the slide. You can try and play with it, because I don't have time to really demonstrate all of them. And similarly, there's a multiple attribute as well. We'll talk about this get and post methods which are applicable, which is specified in the form. Here these are, so it's not that here form I haven't specified anything. There's an action attribute, there's also method attribute. So this will demonstrate once we start basically discussing more about the HTML5 forms. Okay. So there is a slight difference on when to use a get method, when to use a post. This little advanced topics that I'll cover later. Yeah. Similarly, like if you remember, there's a let's say if you want to, if you remember in case of anchors, by pressing the tab, it moves from one anchor to another anchor. So similarly, if you want to move from one input box to another input box, you can specify that order in which that navigation should happen. When you press the tab key on the keyboard, it is specified using the tab index. This behavior is similar to the behavior with the anchors. Yeah, so that's the end of this module. So we are at 11:17, 11 o'clock, and we are past by 17 minutes. I hope you can excuse me for overflowing by 17 minutes. That's because I'm answering your questions, and also sometimes I lose time when I have to remove and edit the text. So the reason why I edit the text in front of you is because, okay, you should not assume that so I'm not doing the coding. So I'm coding in front of you. Okay, here I given this modules, the resources which you can read more about this. So for each of the modules, I given the resources. You can go and read them. Okay. So any questions here? We are close. Yeah, from my side, I'm done with the slide presentation at 11 o'clock past 18 minutes. So any questions you can just put it in the chat window. Yeah, Saif Ali says there's no questions. Anyone else has any questions? Okay, thanks Saif Ali. So yeah, as I was telling in the beginning of the session, at the end, once I close this webinar, you will get a feedback form. Please fill in the feedback form. So that will really help me to make each session better and better. Now I know how you are getting, whether you are getting my content or not. So I'll try to make modification, adjust as per your needs. So please, I am repeating, please fill in the form to make this session better. So please spend just probably, it should not take more than 5 minutes or 2 minutes to fill the form. That's the favor I expect from you. So to make the session better and better. So can you fill in the form, the feedback form? Can you answer in the, yeah, thanks James, good night. James, can you just fill in the feedback form please? I know it's too late for you, but it should not take more than 5 minutes. Please fill in the feedback form. If you are filling the feedback form, please type in yes in the chat window. I know for some of you who are staying in US, it's quite late. Okay. So if I'm still on this call. So if anyone wants to stay back, I'm fine. So you can ask questions. We can have rather than just chat. I can just unmute you, and you can ask questions through by speaking to your microphone as well. So if you want me to unmute you, just type in the chat window so that I can unmute you. If you have any questions, I'll stay in for some more time. Yeah, thanks, Amna. I wish you you to have a great weekend. So Amna, just one question. So are you able to follow today's session, today's content? Is that good speed? Great. Glad to know that you are able to follow. I think if you just see ultimately if you practice, you'll feel more confident. So definitely there's my slides, the code examples are there, but unfortunately when you copy paste into a text editor, you are getting some special characters. But if you take this examples from the W3 schools, then you should be able to work fine. So thank you, Amna. I really appreciate your kind words. Yeah, I'm committed to make sure that whatever I know, so it's communicated to you. But unfortunately, I have a very constrained resource, that is time. As I said, these actually today's session is like 6 modules, sub-modules, if you notice it. So I would have covered ideally 6 into 1.5 hours, or even at least minimum should take anywhere between 6 to 9 hours. So that we crammed it in just 3 hours. That's why I could not. Otherwise, I would have loved to demonstrate all the things what I said in the slide. But since if you have to demonstrate, it will take more time. That's the reason why I'm asking you to do some homework by practicing. Okay. Thank you, Amna. I really appreciate. Please fill in the feedback. So that is a favor you can do to me by filling the feedback in return. Okay. Okay. I'm closing this webinar today now. So I'm stopping the recording and I'm going off the air. Thank you everyone and bye bye.